I wouldn't wish it on anyone. If you had sons fighting in the Great War, you proudly displayed this flag with blue stars in your window. We had 3 sons that served. Harold and Louis both served and made it home safely, thanks be to God. That explains the blue stars. You displayed it with pride for their valor and sacrifice. But if you had a son that was killed in battle, you exchanged that one for a gold star. Our 3rd son, Francis Clare, did not make it home, dying in a trench in France. As a mother, you earned that gold star at a terrible price, a son who was not coming home. My name is Susan Rouse, and I lived here in Galena with my husband, William, and we had 9 children. We were Catholic, and so our family plot is next door at St. Mary's Cemetery. Like my sister, Margaret Gardner, whose name you may recognize, I was also a teacher. I loved children, and I always wanted to have a large family of my own. Francis Clare was one of our 7 boys. He went by his middle name, Clare. He was tall and athletic, and he had a forthright sense of duty and responsibility. He was a good Catholic boy who never gave us any trouble. Oh, well, never any serious trouble. But 7 boys, well, boys will be boys, and when you have 7, you can imagine there were some shenanigans. The Great War broke out in Europe in 1914. Claire was only 14 at the time. Our family followed the events of the war very closely. It was frequently the topic of conversation at the supper table. And when the United States entered the Great War on the side of England and France, our boys were ready to serve. I can still feel Claire's firm hug as he boarded the train in Galena bound for training camp. "Don't you worry about me, Mom," he said. "I'll be home before you know it." That was April 27th, 1918. I didn't want him to go, but I put on a strong face to make it easier for him, just as I had displayed for his 2 brothers. Claire was stationed at Camp Funston and assigned to Company D of the 355th Infantry. And in May, he was sent east to Camp Mills, Long Island. In June, he sailed to Europe, arriving in Romsey, England. Upon arrival, he wrote, proudly informing us that he had made the journey without getting seasick. And in July, he was sent to France and prepared for the firing line. He wrote, "I am in the 1st squad of the 1st Battalion in the front ranks. I am in the 6-footers. Not so bad, is it, Mother?" On July 15th, his division went into action. In each letter, he first expressed concern for us back here at home. That was so like him. And then he would write, "Don't worry about me. Trust in God, and all will come out right." The fighting in Europe had dragged on so long before the United States entered the war. We all hoped that the Americans would help turn the tide and bring the war quickly to an end. Clare and his division were positioned to stop the German advance, part of the St. Mihiel offensive near Verdun. Clare wrote home regularly, and every day I dutifully watched for the postman to arrive. His letters were always reassuring. He was doing well. It was October, and I happened to glance out the window. An unfamiliar man was approaching the house with something in his hand. That's not the postman, I thought. There was a furtive knock at the front door. My heart sank. This telegram telegram just arrived for you, ma'am. I'm sorry. In that moment, a mother's worst fear is realized. We regret to inform you that your son, Claire Rouse, was killed in action on September 13th, 1918. No. Not my Claire. We always knew that was a possibility, but we hoped. We always hoped. Our family was devastated by the loss. Even for a family with 7 sons, the loss of even one seems more than the heart can bear. I needed to know more to make sense of Claire's death, so I wrote to the Army requesting information. And in time, we received this letter from Claire's sergeant. Claire was hit by a machine gun bullet on the St. Mihiel Drive, and the bullet penetrated his chest and left him unconscious. I feel sure that he never regained consciousness, and this I consider fortunate for him, as he felt no pain. Before the drive, he prepared his soul, and having lived a clean and honest life, you may rest assured that he is now in a better home. Often I have thought of my dear friend Claire, and with my heart I pray, may God rest his soul. I also received a letter from Claire's chaplain confirming the facts of Claire's death, and he added, "You have every occasion to be proud of Claire, all of which I know you are. However, that does not heal the wound made by his going." Oh, so true. And then he added, "As his chaplain, I am happy to have known him and rejoice that he had made his peace calling and election sure." In other words, he had professed his faith and taken communion. No, it did not heal the wound, but as a Catholic, I was reassured, and the letters confirmed that Claire was among men who cherished his friendship. That meant a great deal to me. He was not alone. But the chaplain's letter confirmed one other matter. Claire's body was to be interred there, in France. I hadn't thought of that. Claire was to be buried in foreign soil. Claire was not coming home. The thought of it just tore at my heart. I wanted him here, where I could tend to him and care for him, resting beside his family. No, it isn't right. No.